Welcome to Diz and Hers, the show about what's happening in the Disney community from his, hers, and your perspective. I'm Eric.
And I'm Lauren. In this week's episode of Diz and Hers, we debate whether the closing of Rock and Roller Coaster is even wilder than the dinosaur shutdown, break down the new Villains Land developments, making the project stronger, or could it signal trouble? And ask whether Joe Rohde has become the most popular Disney Imagineer in 2026, and get into why some fans are genuinely angry about Olaf taking over the Animation Academy at Hollywood Studios. All right, so let's go from 57 miles per hour in 2.8 seconds, and let's talk a Rock and Roller Coaster.
Well, I think as everyone should know right now, the Rock and Roller Coaster is no more. It is shut down as of March 2nd. The coaster is no longer in operation. So on March 1st, we saw plenty of people kind of hanging out down in the Rock and Roller Coaster courtyard area, and it wrapped, all the way around, all the way up to the Hollywood Tower of Terror. Did you see some of these lines?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the people that are like, oh, Hollywood Studios, I could walk right into the park. And then, like, right there on that main drag, that's where the line started and wrapped all the way around to Rock and Roller Coaster, which is significant. But if you missed the closing of Rock and Roller Coaster, have no fear. It's not going far. It's just being reimagined as the Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets instead of Aerosmith. And we're hearing rumblings of summer of this year.
Oh, yeah, and we had some friends down there, I think, on the streets. We've been fortunate and lucky enough to actually know a little bit more about the Rock and Roller Coaster than I think the next guy. I think I've produced an entire hour-long Patreon version of the making of the Rock and Roller Coaster with Jim Schul, who is kind of the gentleman that created this, and I think he was down there this weekend.
Yeah, he was down there for the WDW Today event. Tom Corliss, I think, shutting down the ride because he was such a pivotal part of getting this ride off the ground to begin with. So if you're not familiar with Jim Scholl, he is a retired Disney Imagineer and served nearly 3 decades in that capacity. He really did help shape the Rock and Roller Coaster. So with Imagineering projects, they typically don't say like, hey, it was one guy that did it. But he was a huge part of focusing on the storytelling and the show design, like that whole idea that you're in a recording studio and then Aerosmith invites you to the show and then you jump into the super stretch limo and race across to LA. Like that was all Jim. And there's some little nods to his family. So he was a huge part of this. It's also a big deal that this is closing because when this launched originally in 1999, it was a pretty big deal for the time. Like it was, I don't know if you remember this from like producing all those episodes, but it was really the first of its kind as far as like a high intensity launch coaster. It was one of the earliest coasters that had that onboard audio. I will never forget the story that he tells about Tom Morris driving down the like West Coast. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Tom Morris had he was known for bringing a cassette player on, like, I think Space Mountain at the time. And that was one of the main things one of the ideas that's like, all right, we're going to for sure put the music on this. But yeah, of course it ended up with the Aerosmith. And yeah, Jim tells a great deal of stories, but this was kind of made the park more of a thrill ride like park, a section that's not necessarily just made for the little kids. And I think that was a big deal to get, the teenagers to get excited to go into the park.
Yeah, and I think it was like the first, to my knowledge, of like celebrity IP that was put into the park. So it was a big deal. So now that the Rock and Roller Coaster in its original form has closed, I mean, like to me, I think that this is the end of an era of that type of Imagineering that we got into in the 90s and early 2000s, and that type of storytelling. Not to say one is better than the other, but is kind of closing that chapter. And a lot of those longtime Imagineers have since retired. And we're going to talk about, Joe Rohde and later on in this episode. But we're here to cover the fan community. We know that this was happening. What are people saying, Eric?
Well, it was kind of funny because I was prepping the show and I didn't know necessarily when we were going to record this. And I kind of prepped it as if we were going to record before the closing. So I was grabbing some and it was funny that there were elements and individuals saying, well, it's not going to be as popular as Dinosaur because the park reservation system still showed a ton of reservations available for Hollywood studios where Animal Kingdom was kind of closed down. So I grabbed a tweet here from Maddle Go Star that says the demand for the closure of Rock and Roller Coaster doesn't seem as high as the demand for the closure of Dinosaur, and Animal Kingdom had 0 reservations at this point. Now, we go on to find out that no, it was pretty important. I mean, there was a lot of, I don't know if they sold out per se, but the lines definitely showcased that the Rock and Roller Coaster was important. But there was also a tweet from that one pass holder that says, I think this is mostly has to do with the fact that Rock and Roller Coaster does not sit within a fandom group. Like, yes, it's obviously has its fan, me included, but Dinosaur are so much bigger as a concept. It was just a pillar of that park. Meanwhile, Rockin' was not. What's your thoughts on that? Do you agree? Because I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I don't think Dinosaur was that much better than Rock and Roller Coaster.
And I think that maybe what they're saying is that it didn't have that niche group of fandom or because I would not say that Dinosaur was a pillar attraction. Like if we were talking about the safari, like we talked about last on the last episode, that's a reason that people go to Animal Kingdom. I don't know that people were planning their trips just to experience Dinosaur. And I think that it was equally scary and terrifying for children. So I don't know that you could even say that one had broader fan appeal than another. Maybe the fact that one was a high intensity coaster and one was more of a intense dark ride, but that's what I think. What do you think?
I think it comes down to the park original. Dinosaur was one of the original lands or original attractions where Rock and Roller Coaster was added after the fact. I think we kind of get more in an uproar, it seems like, if it's older it is. So although, 1999 is 26, 27 years ago, it wasn't one of the original attractions. So that might have something to do with it. And Dinosaur had its own little quirky moments. It was had a pre-show and everything like that. And maybe being tied to an actual Aerosmith might have made Rock and Roller Coaster not have as much as a fandom. But as we found out the day before the closing, so this would have been February 28th, we had 75, 80-minute waits as reported. And then it turns out that for the most part yesterday, I saw as high as 110.
I didn't see any direct posts about this is the posted wait time, but as far back as the main drag. I mean, and we've been at the parks when the wait's been 60 minutes, 75 minutes. It's not even spilling out of that area. But, I don't know, Eric, have you seen, I haven't seen very many people that are angry or outraged that it's closing or getting this re-theme we saw with Muppets.
Because it's still there. It's the same ride. We're just doing an overlay. And nobody, at this point in time, I don't know how many people are super uber giant Aerosmith fans. I think if anybody's upset, it's because this is what they know and they don't necessarily like change. But if you had to vote Muppets versus Aerosmith, I think a lot of people are going to pick Muppets just because it is a more family friendly. It has the nostalgic vibe, kind of fits everything. And the ride will be pretty much the same. I don't think they're tearing anything down. And let's be real, it's a fast moving coaster. It's not like show scene and elements. We might get rid of some of the highway signs that are neon, but I don't think that there's going to be that much. I think we're all kind of excited about what's happening, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be down for super long. So I think we all appreciate Rock and Roller Coaster for what it was and what it did for the park, but I think we're also okay with this next evolution and next chapter.
Yeah, so if you want to hear the evolution story of Rock and Roller Coaster, you can check that out on the network, Disney Unpacked. It looked like we had posted this episode March 8th of 2024, so you could get the abbreviated version for free on YouTube. It's like 18 minutes or so. And then if you want the full deep dive, that episode, it's called The Story of Rock and Roller Coaster from Concept to Coaster, and you can find that on Jim Hill Media, the Patreon.
Yeah, and just recently, I don't know if you saw this, but yesterday on the day it closed, Jim, and Len were actually in the parks, and they sat outside Hollywood Studios in November, and they recorded basically another version, more stories like that wasn't actually in the first Unpacked. Believe it or not, there were more than just the hour-long story. So that's just an audio version, so that's available over on Patreon. So we're just cheap plugs away today.
All right, so another big change that is coming to our Florida parks. There's tons of rumbling. I mean, this has taken over my feed about the expansion of Villains Land. And we had talked about a little bit on the last episode that, Len's comment in the WDW Magic Forum got picked up, and then it just spread like wildfire. Like everybody was all over it. And then Jim's co-host, Drew Taylor with Fine Tuning, did a really nice, thorough article in The Wrap. So if you haven't checked that out yet.
He's the one that kind of broke it all, like this latest story. I mean, we know Len got people talking, but Drew the next day is when it actually came out, and he dropped the Wrap story that just kind of blew up everywhere. And for those who have not paid attention or haven't listened to any of the other podcasts or really pulled up any internet connection over the while, the whole deal is we talked about the Villains Land pretty hardcore last week about the Josh saying, hey, we're going to get bigger and better. Well, the word came out of actually what that means. And funny enough, Jim dropped it when we were recording the Epic podcast that says, hey, just want to let you know, this was on air. He was saying, hey, I got more information that when Josh was at Epic, he wasn't really looking at the Dark Universe as the comparison. He's like, the Isle of Berk is what they were looking at, because everybody, Isle Berk won the Theo Awards, and it was voted the best land, and it's known for its family friendly and immersiveness and the fun aspect. And he's like, that's what we want. And that is what created this entire Wrap article, which kind of talks a couple different things. It almost talks about how the land itself is being slightly transformed from what we saw in the concept art, which looked like a foreboding, a Maleficent coaster with thorns and so forth. And now we're hearing that it's an
scary.
Emperor's New Groove. Yeah, it was scary and dark. And now it's more like, oh no, it's going to be a little bit more whimsy in a Villains Land, almost as if it's like the show over in Hollywood, the Hollywood Studios show, or maybe one of the Villains After Hours, which got people, talking.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the biggest thing that, like, I thought came out of it was that, like, the Maleficent coaster, which looked really, really cool, is being replaced by Emperor's New Groove. Like, does that make any sense to you?
Well, this is what's funny, because there is one line, and it is a funny takeaway line where it's like Kronk, get the lever or pull the lever, and it's a roller coaster in this movie. But the funny thing is, like, I don't know how that IP in a world where they will not make anything non-IP that's made $1 billion in merch and this and that. It just seems very unlikely that the Emperor's New Groove is the IP that they're going to build a coaster around. I'm not saying that I don't necessarily believe it, but has there ever been a concept of maybe like this is the best of kind of deal, and maybe there is multiple villains, and then the part where like there's a drop hill, maybe that's where Kronk is?
I think there's more to the story with this. And I mean, this goes on to say that there is going to be a Maleficent boat ride that is being developed to be more of that like e-ticket attraction, like the single pass, like boat ride. Like we don't typically see boat rides that are e-ticket attractions.
Well,
so there
if you
has
go
to
over
really
to
be
Shanghai,
something.
go over to Shanghai and check out their Pirates of the Caribbean. That is the boat ride. We're not talking a small world here. We're talking a very immersive, and I think that's what they're kind of building it off of. And so one of the things that has changed, and you've seen, is that they updated the permits, which the building sizes have changed. And we have a lot of sleuthing going on from that perspective to decide, okay, what is there? There's going to be a dinner show with Hades, I believe. There's going to be coaster, and there's also going to be this giant attraction. Plus, they're talking about a third attraction now that is described as like a carnival style flat ride, which I don't know if you saw this. They're saying it's Ursula, but a familiar name to the show already, Jim Schul. Did you see the tweet that he posted almost immediately after?
Listen, I just have to say, like, whenever you were saying there was going to be like an Ursula spinner, I was like, eh. Like, we've got Dumbo, we've got the magic carpets, but if this concept art that Jim is sharing is what this is, like, I don't know. I think it's super cool. Okay, so go back to the tweet. It says, poor Ursula is nearly in line for a ride in different Disney parks, but the green light never comes. Maybe this time it will happen. #Villains-land, #Disney Villains. And it looks like, I would say, a more intense spinner ride.
Well, I mean, so if you're not familiar, there was a time where I think California Adventure, the Paradise Pier area, was going to be a Villains Land, and he designed and drew. He must have been the one leading the Ursula spinner ride. So there was several out there. I think somebody posted, and Jim was like, "Hey, I drew that," kind of like as a tweet. And then there's several of them that are posting out there, and I've seen his artwork. It looks very much like his Crush Coaster one, and so forth. So he has a distinct style. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not ever going to get super excited about a spinner, flat ride, but they need to happen. Truth be told, I've been screaming about it for a year that Epic needs stuff like that, yes. Right? Because we need some of those. So I'm not going to cry about it, but it is just funny, this whole story. There was a slew of tweets out there. So let's cover a couple of them that I thought was pretty funny. So Fresh Baked, which is pretty prolific on the online. Basically, a lot of people are commenting on the Discussing Film tweet, which is basically just announcing, hey, this is what's going to happen. The Emperor New Groove Coaster, an indoor water with Maleficent, a restaurant, and Fresh Baked says, tomorrow, we need bigger and bolder. Budgets are secondary. Imagineering. Best we can do is an Ursula-themed spinner.
That's not fair. Going back to Epic, I mean, do you think that he went to Epic and was like, dang, they need some more, like, spinner rides here. Like, people are waiting too long and not being able to, like, do things to fill their time. We don't want that same issue.
Well, I think it's all mad about capacity because there are, like, spinner rides over in Burke. They just don't have a high capacity. The flyers,
oh my gosh, it's bad planning.
Right. So I did grab some screenshots here just to show the different sizes of the lands, and I think everybody is basically saying the big show building that got a little bigger is definitely going to be the indoor Maleficent boat ride. So that is going to be the e-ticket, the Rise of the Resistance. The other building that's kind of smaller looks to be like the coaster is going to be an outdoor family-friendly coaster. Right? So they just kind of shipped and changed some of the buildings there, and maybe the indoor, like the indoor, I guess, dining locations changed a little bit.
With that coaster, you might get like a Hagrid situation where like a part of it is indoor animatronics, and especially if they're saying there's going to be like a drop, like what you get in the Rise of Resistance, like that all kind of tracks for me.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a ton of land back there. Another thing, I think this is where a lot of people were going. There was Theme Park Zach on Twitter said, Villains Land seems like a concept Disney can't screw up, but this report makes it seem like they may find a way. Yeah. And then Peter he's from Ordinary Adventures Online. He listen,
hey,
I didn't expect a dark adult-only land, but I don't think Kiddie is the direction to go with a villain land. Does Magic Kingdom need a fifth spinner attraction and a fourth family coaster? Was personally hoping for a thrill ride with a cool dark ride where all the Disney villains come together. I'm hopeful this report isn't completely right. We'll see what Disney announces. Mind you, Disney has not said a thing, right?
Right. This is all fan speculation
right.
And connecting dots here.
And then we have Stardust J, which is one of the more funny ones in my opinion. He says, yeah, ... If anyone needs me, I'll be in the actual Villains Land. And it's a picture of Darkmoor, which is over at Epic. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people were expecting this to be we don't have scary things at the Disney parks. It's Mickey's Not So Scary Party. It's not going to get super scary. So I don't know if our expectations were a little higher or changing.
Would you say Dark Universe is scary?
I don't think so. It's foreboding. We haven't been there too much at nighttime. It's been super hot every time I'm there. So I'm ducking in and out and trying to get some air conditioning. So I don't know. It's tough to say. But I do think there was one other tweet that I just want to bring up. A gentleman named Wakefield Report says, waiting for you all to realize that Disney haven't finalized their Villains Land yet. And those leaked those details to gauge public reaction. It's something they've been doing for years now, since the early Mice Chat days. So I don't know. I don't know what to take of this. Obviously, I know our friends on the network are very highly credible, and they're not just going to post stuff out there. This is not made up rumors. It's just a matter of how far along are they? What are we getting the full story? I wouldn't doubt if there's information sent out that might be halfway done or might be still in the blue sky development. It's tough to say, but I don't know. I don't know what to expect.
We'll find out more at D23 in August. I bet you that it's going to be much more fleshed out. And I mean, they've got to give us some domestic park news. And so I think that this will be a big topic.
Yeah, but I think everybody needs to chime in. Let's hear what you have to say. Are you excited about this? Would you rather have it kid-friendly, or are you in the notion that it should be dark and eerie, and we should have villains out there terrorizing us? You let us know. Let us know in the comments.
Yes. Okay. So after the break, we have a brand new book coming from one of our favorite Imagineers. And everyone is talking about the new Olaf draws at the Animation Academy experience over at Hollywood Studios. And so we'll share what they have to say. But first, this.
And we're back. Earlier this week, Disney legend Joe Rohde was spotted on social media and was prepping a big announcement. So, Lauren, you actually brought this to my attention. Did you see what the big tease was on Instagram?
My gosh, I was so excited. Like, we always talk about the Eisner era, and like that's kind of like our Walt. So that style of Imagineering is, Eric and I's favorite. So I was pleasantly surprised to see Mr. Joe Rohde make it into my algorithm, and I ended up following, and I'm like, please give me more, internet. But the first video that I saw was he was essentially just teasing that he had a creative announcement. He's a creative guy, and so he's going to be talking about something creative, but to stay tuned. So, of course, I had to follow along. And then just a couple days later, we found out that Joe Rohde has a new book coming out. Floating Mountains, the art of Imagineering the impossible. And it's doing pretty well so far, right?
Well, yeah, because I thought it came out. I was just like, man, that is a weird drop strategy, is like not to announce it and then it's in bookshelves, because I saw that it was like a top seller, that it was already like the top of the Amazon's Traveler and Explorer biographies and several other areas. But it turns out that I guess that's from pre-orders, because I went on and I'm like, all right, is there an audiobook? Because I'm listening to a lot of stuff. I would have listened to it by this time. It's not available yet. It comes out, I think, September 8th, but you can pre-order. So he's done his fair share of promotion, and I think the book is $35. You can get it and pre-order it from all over the place.
Well, and I bet you that if you go to D23, that he will be there selling and signing copies, because who was the
Brad Bird was there last time. I know, but he's not an Imagineer.
But he had a book. But no, what was the it was the Imagineer that we loved.
Bob Wise.
Yeah. So anyways, maybe if you're at the convention, and finger crossed will be there as well, you might be able to get your hands on it a little earlier than September 8th. The D23 fan convention is happening August 14th through the 16th. But I'm assuming that this is a book about Pandora.
I mean, that's as much as I can tell. I think it's going through like National Geographic or their one of their wings there. But calling it the art of imagining the impossible, floating mountains, I'm sure it's Pandora. I don't know if it'll be a biography about Joe Rohde altogether or just the Pandora experience. I'm good with either one. I imagine Jim will have it on his bookshelf and probably read it before we even get it in the mail. But the funny thing is, so we find out Joe Rohde's putting out a book, and I just wanted to know. Curious, because he is probably one of the most well-known Imagineers at this time. Now, granted, there are different series of Imagineers. You have your Walt Imagineers, and then, like Lauren said, we have our Eisner ones. And I was just kind of looking out online and just did my normal searching of like, who are the most popular Imagineers out there, and just kind of seeing where Joe Rohde would fall. And here's a challenge for everyone. So I went and I searched just the simple, popular Imagineers, most famous Imagineers, so forth. And we get nothing but old articles. We're talking an All Ears from 2019. We got a Magic, WDW Magic Forum from 2020. We got a mickeyblog.com from 2023. We got another Magic forum from 2019. No one right now has a really good stance or really this is a great opportunity for you content creators out there, because if you go and look for best Disney Imagineers, it's all old content and it's not even that competitive right now. So I was curious, Lauren, who is your favorite Imagineer from past, present? Do you have a favorite?
Oh my gosh. Well, I just like looking at that first article and seeing Rolly Crump. Like, I mean, I don't know. I love Bob Gurr. Like, I love that he's still in the parks. I mean, Tony Baxter. They're all so like, these are like our like rock stars. Like,
Right.
love them. And I mean, you cannot forget about Mark Davis. Like, Jim has just told so many wonderful stories of him and his wife. And I mean, that is who his child is named after. So I can't name one. Jim Scholl, definitely, if you're listening, Jim. How about you, Eric?
Well, I mean, I'm a Rolly Crump guy. I always have
You're
been.
a Haunted Mansion guy, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, he you know, I have his book and always enjoyed. But Tony Baxter, man, there's something about Tony Baxter that I really enjoyed as well. But
the like Imagineering story, like, you know, it just like makes you love these guys, and like him working in the parks and scooping ice cream. Like, you just don't get that, or you don't hear about these people. I mean, all I know is what was the guy's name? Like Disney Tom, the guy with the tight pants. Like
on a most recent video,
know,
yes, there's a most recent video.
Any of these
right,
people.
it is kind of a lost art right now. They're not necessarily the celebrity icon that they once were with the specials and everything like that. But we can hope to get to that level. But so what I was checking is to see, is there anybody that did a definitive rank? We would love to have an updated one, somebody out there, 2026, make a definitive rank. But Google did kind of, by searching for this, they did give us a little list on the bottom that says people also search for. So if it matters, if this counts, and this is Google's recommendations, right now, Tony Baxter is number 1. Joe Rohde is number 2, Mary Blair 3, Bob Gurr 4, Rolly Crump 5, and Mark Davis 6. That is what they show at the bottom, at least for my searches. So right now, unless you think otherwise, I think everybody out there, somebody go out there and make a wonderful vlog, make a series of TikTok videos, make a blog. Somebody go out there and let us know who the best Imagineer is in 2026, the all-time
And
greats.
I think we should ask Jim Scholl. Maybe he'll come on the show and give us his opinion. Can't name yourself, Jim, but I think that would be really cool. So we will be looking forward to that. But speaking of celebrities, the warm hug loving snowman is making some news down in Florida, right?
My goodness, he's making this was a weird one because I saw it come out and I'm like, oh, cool. This sounds great. Like an animatronic Olaf. He's going to be teaching people to draw, and this is a great new area of the park that didn't have anything. So it's not like we're taking anything away. So you hear about Olaf draws, and for those not aware, this is basically going in the magic of Disney animation in the Hollywood studio areas where the old animation studios was. But Olaf draws, it's a feature, a new audio animatronic Olaf figure inspired by the appearance of Once Upon a Studio. So if you haven't seen that, and it's going to have guests come in, and Josh Gad, of course, is the voice of Olaf, so that is super exciting. But this is where everybody got mad. It says pre-recorded instruction from Disney animation artists will guide step-by-step drawings of Donald Duck, Genie, Moana, Stitch, Olaf, and so forth. So with that being said, the pre-recorded it's pretty cool though, because it is going to be from the animators that drew it. So for instance, like Eric Goldberg is going to teach you how to draw Genie, and there's other ones that are out there. So you're actually going to get recordings and learn how to draw from them. But yeah, let's just say everybody out there was not very happy about the live cast member no longer, running the show. And we have done this multiple times.
Wouldn't you rather learn it from the originator of that artwork than some recent college grad that is like, hey, here, let me teach you how to draw Puma?
That's the question. So Lauren and I have done this 3 or 4 occasions with our family, and I won't lie, I did not have any type of personal connection with the person up there. So my situation was like, okay, that's fine. You can, it's quicker, it's more efficient. You can kind of time who you want to draw. Like if you want to draw Olaf, try to find out which time that is. But from looking over online, there are a lot of people that made personal connections with these live cast members, and I don't know what their backstories are or how they did it. our situations, it was very much just the same as if it was somebody just doing a pre-recording. There wasn't any back and forth banter. There wasn't anything that was off script, but that's my experience. That's not everyone. So we grabbed a handful of tweets here. So let's just start with Disney Scoop Guy says, sorry, but I can't get excited about an animatronic that is going to eliminate multiple cast members' positions, especially when they're artists. The literal backbone of the Walt Disney Company. All right, and then followed by Imaginatic Art, it says, damn, this is ridiculous. And it keeps coming. It says, Chris at Rope Drop says, cool, but I would 100% rather learn this from an actual animator. And we continue on. So and that was just nonstop. So granted, I am in a very community creator space on Twitter. That is, as a creator myself, I have and follow a lot, and the algorithm knows that. So I don't know if I was just in the void there, and then other areas, people are super jazzed and excited. But a lot of the people that I was following were not happy that it's no longer an actual live person teaching and showcasing. And then I found some really interesting tweets and Instagram messages and so forth. This one was from SAV. It just says, just want to say, at first I was happy with the art of animation returning to DHS. As a kid, I loved that space and going into draw characters. Now that I'm a full-grown adult, I would have liked to be able not to just draw these characters, but to possibly apply to teach. So there's an animator that's kind of upset saying, hey, we're super excited and now we're going away. And then I found somebody that actually worked there. This is GV_arts with a Z. And they posted, it has been a true honor to serve as an instructor for over 4.5 years. During this time, I learned a great deal from my colleagues, including coworkers, coordinators, leadership team members. Hearing many inspiring stories from guests who felt safe and comfortable enough to share their experiences with us has been genuinely uplifting. I have loved this role and always look forward to getting up every day to talk about my favorite characters and how to make somebody a day more special. The animation experience has given me a voice and created a space where both myself and my friends can be heard. I am committed to continuing my pursuit of excellence, reaching for greatness, maintaining my passion, and inspiring others in a fun way. So we just saw that was like a post of somebody that must have been like doing it at the Animal Kingdom. And what's your thoughts, Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, I see both sides. I really do. But I will say that it is not like one is replacing the other. Like, I think that this just seemed like a good fit for that space. And I do know that Bluey is going to be occupying the space at Animal Kingdom. And I always hate, I personally hate whenever we're seeing loss of jobs, especially loss of creative jobs. That is, it's kind of a hot button for both you and I. But I'm sorry, but I was kind of excited to see that there was a new kind of interactive experience in that you got to get it firsthand from the original creator. So that's my thought. And I love anything Olaf.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know where you sit on that side, or if you have to sit on one side. We don't have to be vocally angry about one thing, or we can kind of be half and half. So certainly, hopefully we have other opportunities. It doesn't look like the
internet was half and half.
No. But that's why we're here, to find out what people are saying and where things will change. I mean, ultimately, why couldn't you have Olaf talk with an actual cast member who's doing it, and Olaf is trying to draw it himself and screwing up? So you could have a little bit of both.
Isn't AI good enough? I mean, he's walking around Paris. Can he be scribbling out?
Right. So, I mean, maybe there's a hybrid, and maybe sometimes, they put this stuff out there, and if there's enough of a change, I mean, you can switch it up. There's certainly, I mean, you could definitely have cast members going around helping people, I don't know.
And so, they might. I mean, it's still too soon to tell.
Yeah, but my favorite, we'll leave with this. My favorite was Seafoam Safari. It says, I'd like this better with a Michael Eisner animatronic, the founding father of DHS, Disney Hollywood Studios. So, yes, give me a Michael Eisner animatronic, and he can teach us how to draw and do all that. So that'd be fun. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts. We would love to hear if you're pro Olaf teaching us, or you'd rather have just your animator come in there and teach you like they currently do at
And I would just put this
Animal
out
Kingdom.
there, right? I would like to put this out there right now. I would totally love a Hall of Presidents for Disney CEOs.
Give me Imagineers.
Let's
throw back. How about a Hall of President with the Imagineers? I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, I could see Tony Baxter as an animatronic right now.
There
love
you go.
That guy.
Make the replacement now.
But anyways, that does it for today's episode of Diz and Hers. For more, hit up disandhers.com. That's where you're going to find articles, episodes, and updates. And if Disney is your vibe, be sure to subscribe.
And remember, guys, watch what you post online. You might end up in next week's episode. Thanks for listening.